Hey, hello, this is Russ Galvin with Colorado Crane Operator School, and I want to talk to you today about the roles and responsibilities that are specific around during hoisting operations. The first two, I'm going to kind of group them together because they can be the same individual or they can be different individuals depending upon the leasing agreement of the crane. It's going to be the crane owner and the crane user. So when we talk about the roles and responsibility of that crane owner, their primary job, one of their primary roles, is to supply a crane that meets all the appropriate ASME B30.5 standards. So with that being said, they making sure you're using a crane where all the components have been structurally sound, making it appropriate that they're using the appropriate wire rope for that particular crane, making sure the D-to-D ratio, any shivs, if they've had to replace any shivs during the process of the crane to meet the minimum requirements for the manufacturer's specs. So that's one of their primary roles. Another primary role of that owner is to make sure they have maintained the proper maintenance program that follows the manufacturer's recommendations. So that includes their preventative maintenance, any type of necessary repairs through the entire process, and of course have records of that. And of course, follow the inspection procedures for sections, the inspection standards set forth, through the OSHA standard subpart CC. So just kind of a quick recap, just every crane needs to conduct a daily inspection that's performed by that competent person, which is typically going to be that operator. And then you carry that over to every month, where every month you'll do a more of a documented approach with that visual inspection of the crane, but you need to make sure you keep records of that monthly inspection from, have a 3-month running record of that. And then the crane also needs to have that annual inspection that has been documented and performed by a qualified inspector, or a qualified individual, someone that's well versed in the crane inspections. So kind of keep that in mind. That's one of the roles and responsibilities of that owner. And then of course they want to make sure they have the designated crew, for all maintenance, repair, and transport, that is particular for that particular crane. That's assuming if it's going to be part of their leasing agreement to go ahead and deliver, so that crew's got to be knowledgeable. Now, if the owner is also the user, so on the leasing agreement, they have a few more roles and responsibilities that they need to make sure that they maintain and follow. So, so the above mentioned, I need to pause here real quick, was actually this is a bare lease. That crane owner is just supplying the crane, making sure it meets the standards, all the appropriate inspection standards, all the maintenance records, and all the designated crew that has that basic knowledge about delivering that crane, and then they wreck that crane. But now we go on to expand onto that, where the roles and responsibility of a crane user. So not only do you own the crane now, but you're actually going to be using the crane. Now these roles can also just be if you are bare leasing that crane and you're going to supply the owner operator. So the first and foremost is that operator needs to be certified, be a certified crane operator such as NCCO, to make sure that they have the certified, and their certifications actually up to date. So just remind your operators, their certifications last every 5 years. They got to come in and recertify every 5 years. and proper site access. So make sure they have that basic knowledge, and of course, understand the basic inspection procedures for that crane. It's also the crane user's job and role and responsibility to make sure that they apply all support personnel. Making sure those individuals are qualified and experienced. And that's going to mean supplying a qualified rigger and a qualified signal person. Or they're also going to make sure that that support personnel has that strong knowledge to be able to do daily maintenance, transport, assembly, disassembly through the entire process. So that's one of the roles and responsibilities of that crane user. And then finally is to really make sure that crane is the right type of crane to do the right job. Meaning they want to make sure that crane is appropriate for the lifting conditions. Last thing you want to do is rent a crane that will not handle the job and potentially put your operator at risk for trying to ask him to make an unsafe pick. So you really want to make sure as a crane user, you're renting the appropriate crane for the appropriate job. Meaning it's not only does it meet the appropriate capacity for the job, but does it meet the appropriate capacity of the job, for the site conditions and for the particular radius for that particular job. And not only for that one, but over a series of different crane picks if it's going to be a long-term rental. So those are just kind of a couple of recaps of the crane owner, the crane user. Oftentimes they are the same individual, but depending on the leasing agreement, it can be, two separate individuals. So just kind of depending on where you're sitting on that leasing agreement, which one is your responsibilities, and make sure you follow those responsibilities. So as always, feel free to reach out to us. Once again, my name is Russ over here at Colorado Crane Operator School, and I appreciate your time. Have a great day.